Hi, I'm Paul Battaglia, and this is section 2.7, Nonlinear Inequalities. So we're going to talk about both polynomial and rational inequalities. And with polynomial inequalities, there's a lot going on. So I brought Gabe and Brittany with me today. And Brittany, I know you're going to talk a lot about how you take polynomial inequalities and all the information involved and try and put it into a lot simpler fashion for your students. How do you do that?
So first I like to have them actually get rid of the inequality sign and just make it equals to find the zeros, something that they're really familiar with already. And then once they find those zeros, to make a table for all of their testing points and everything, to make sure that they have it written and they can see if it's positive or negative.
Good. And you know, I think one of the other things I might even do, even to start the lesson, just to kind of piggyback on your point, is I might even give them a warm-up that says, you know, solve x squared minus 9 equals 0, and tell me how that's different from x squared minus 9 is less than 0. Let's just get them talking about it, you know, before we get into all the tests, which is great. And then, Gabe, tell me some other things that we want to, at least the student be aware of when we talk about rational inequality.
So with rational inequalities, the process for solving the inequality is pretty similar to solving the polynomial inequalities. Except when we're working with these rational inequalities, we may have some domain restrictions that we need to consider. So we'll need to think about, well, where do we have maybe removable discontinuities versus non-removable discontinuities? And at the same time, we'll have to include these values when we're finding our test intervals.
Right. So now students have test intervals that have not only these domain restrictions, but the zeros as well.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
And I think one of the things you might want to consider when working with these inequalities with your students is perhaps either getting them to use color coding or at least being very diligent in their test intervals when they talk about whether it satisfies the inequality on a certain interval or not. These are just small tips that I think help the process go a little smoother for your students. I hope you found these tips helpful and that you find much success in section 2.7.